Farm families are the grassroots of a rural community, extremely vital to the ag economy itself. But if you look at a young person today that loves agriculture, has a passion for farming, loves to farm, without a family operation to come back to, without the willingness of family members, particularly parents or grandparents, to help, their opportunity, their chances for success are almost next to impossible. With the high cost of land, the high cost of machinery, equipment, operating expenses, and the current low commodity prices we're all struggling with right now, without that family operation as a starting point, it's really an uphill battle to do that.
Okay, so if a farm family is just kind of starting the process, just kind of thinking about it, what should be the first steps that they need to be thinking about? Well, the first number one thing that they maybe need to start.
That's an excellent question, and that gets right to the point.
Okay.
Okay, and that is, does that farm family, particularly the parents, because this is their farm,
right,
their family, their estate, their heritage, okay? Do they have a vision? That's the key point. Do they have a vision? Farm producers get so caught up just in the short term. You know, let's just get through harvest season. Okay, let's start thinking about planning. Whatever. What I encourage families to do is let's look long term. Okay. Let's have a plan for the future. What are we really planning to do with this farm? What are our hopes and dreams? Are we thinking of a transition plan where we're looking for opportunities to expand the farm, to possibly bring the next generation into the operation and gradually mom and dad transition out, while their adult farming children transition in and take over? Do we have a situation where maybe none of the children are coming back home to farm?
Right.
They have careers, opportunities, married, whatever. But mom and dad want to keep the farm. They want to preserve it. They want to keep that legacy. So how do we do that? You know, how do we set up a trust that maybe someday the children, or most often what I hear with the parents I counsel with, is the grandchildren. We would love someday for our grandchildren to be on this farm. And that's tremendous. That's a legacy. Or it may be, as you pointed out just a moment ago, a situation where none of the children have an interest in the farm whatsoever, and mom and dad are now at a point in their lives where they're thinking of possibly just, leaving the farm, exiting farming and retirement, whatever their plans might be. They might have a bucket list, and there are some things in that bucket list they need to do.
Right.
While they still have the health and opportunity to do that.
Okay.
So it's that vision statement.
Okay.
That's the starting point.
All
if you don't have a vision or a goal, we're not going to get much accomplished.
Okay. So getting that vision and trying to come up with that vision, is there a tip or something or some steps that would lend itself to a smooth and non-controversial transition within the families that you can think of?
Well, we could talk about that for hours.
I know.
Based on my experiences and my counseling and all my families. But one key piece of advice, and that is communicate, 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 and then communicate. Never underestimate the power of good, open, effective, honest communications within a family. Because whenever you have a breakdown in communications or a lack of communications, there's misunderstandings.
Right.
Misunderstandings cause conflict. And if I don't deal with that conflict in a positive manner, next thing you know, stress and trouble is just right around the corner. And the thing is, the family members themselves have got to sit down and talk together openly and honestly. And most importantly, discuss expectations. That is, most families just never do that. They never want to talk about what if. because what if can be kind of unpleasant or hard to deal with. But expectations, and sit down, and if there are some conflicts or issues or jealousies or whatever it might be, let's sit down and work through it and resolve it, find solutions while we still have that opportunity. Because once family members get mad, angry, upset, attorneys get involved, whatever, nothing positive. And I'm sure you've seen this too. I'm sure this happens in Kansas, not just Nebraska. But over my 40-some years of working with families, I've seen family farms that have been divided, split, parceled off, sold, family members that don't even speak to each other.
Right.
And that is extremely unfortunate because that farm, that family will never be replaced.
Right. So I really like how you brought up communicate, communicate, communicate. So what's a good way to do this? Just schedule a family meeting, because if you don't, it's probably not going to happen. But so you have to make the effort to make that happen, I guess.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I couldn't agree more. That is the parents' responsibility. They have got to sit down, mom and dad, and work out a plan, a vision, an idea of what they think they want to accomplish. And then they've got to sit down with their children and explain what their plans might be, what their hopes, what their dreams might be. I always tell parents, if you don't do it now, who will later? Some attorney who's reading your will to your children, he's going to explain what your wishes, your hopes, your dreams were?
Right.
Or is he just going to read what's on a document, word for word?
Exactly.
Case closed. And you've got to sit down and, again, it's back to communicating, it's back to talking about expectations, and then give everyone in the family, everyone, all the family members involved, a chance to express their feelings, their emotions. And that is the key point. Most families don't want to do that because it's going to be emotional, there's going to be tears, somebody might get upset, somebody might say something, and nothing ever gets done.
Right.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So I really like your idea of writing down the expectations, coming up with a roadmap, I guess if no other words or better words to describe that. A roadmap to see if everybody's in the same direction, because the farm's not going to sustain or build that legacy if you're all going in different directions. You may want the same goal, and hopefully you'll end up at the same goal, keeping that farm. But family communications, family relationships is key. Is key to that.
Well, the key, and just to an added point real quick, when I work with families, I always ask the families, individually, all the family members, write a mission statement. 2-3 sentences. Okay, what's this all about? What are your hopes? Just a mission statement.
Exactly.
And then let's just see if we're all on the same page. Because one of the 5 words that spell family farming success, one of those 5 words is alignment. Okay? Are we all headed in the same direction?
Right.
Are we all trying to accomplish the same thing, the same goal, the same legacy?
Right.
If we don't have all those family members lined up and headed in the right direction, we're probably not going to get very much accomplished.
Exactly. And some people maybe kind of get caught up when you say a vision statement, they think it has to be something fancy, something, elaborate. But I like what you said, 2 or 3 sentences.
Right.
It's just telling
right from
you.
the heart.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be legal or whatever. Just here's what I really would love to see happen to my farm or my family.
Yeah.
The question I get most often from farm folks, and you've had it too, where do we start?
Exactly.
This whole task of setting up an estate plan, a transition plan, bringing it in, the financial, all of this, for a lot of folks is just overwhelming, especially older folks.
Exactly, because they don't know where to
How
start.
do I treat all my children fair? I
What
got
do
farming
do?
children, I got non-farming children, I got this, I got that. Where do I start? How do I make this fair? How do I accomplish this? If I let go of the farm today, and who takes care of me later? You know,
Exactly.
what if I'm in a rest home? You know, who's going to pay those
Exactly.
bills? Where's that money going to come? You know,
Exactly. There are several resources available to farm families. The farm transition process can seem very, very overwhelming. Where to start? So
Yep.
we want to make sure that you realize out there that you do not have to do this alone. Lots of land-grant universities have several resources out there, whether it be University of Nebraska, whether it be Kansas State University. One of the programs that the Kansas State University has is called the Kansas Ag Mediation Services. With that word in there, Ron, mediation, families may think that that doesn't really involve them, but the Kansas Ag Mediation Services has lots of services available. One of them happens to be the farm succession process. Okay, so all it takes is that one phone call, the initial phone call.
Yep.
To
Make
at
that
least-
first appointment.
Exactly. Ask them what services that they have available.
When you go on my website, that's my mission statement.
Okay.
My mission statement is to keep farms in the family and family members on their farm.
Okay, and what is it,
So-
before you go on, what is your website address?
Passing on the farm.
Okay,
If you just go Google passing on the farm, I'll appear
perfect.
on that. And
Okay.
there's resource material. There's 7 short 4-minute videos where I've just identified a particular aspect of transition planning,
Okay.
farm family succession, just various issues, and I just talk about it for 3-4 minutes and offer some ideas and solutions. But
Okay.
it's there on my website.
Okay, and you actually have come to this through some personal experience. I mean, like I said, you grew up on a farm. Your family went through this, so you have some very unique experiences and that you can share. Things that worked, things that didn't work, things you did, things that you shouldn't have done. So I know you have a wealth of information that you share, not only on presentations, but on your website as well. So I really would like to encourage you out there to go to that web page and take a look at that. So,
And the other thing, I could just add a comment. There's also on the website, there's information on how to contact me. Even though I'm retired now and
Okay.
I live in California, because
Okay.
that's where our children and grandchildren live. That was the magnet that took us west from Nebraska.
absolutely.
But if any of your farm families here in Kansas have a question, issue, need some advice, a situation that I can help with, there's information there how they can get in touch with me, and I will respond and answer back.
Okay, perfect. So if you could leave one advice for farm families, Ron, what would that be?
One final word of advice would be, if I could wrap it all up, is that it's never too early for a farm family to begin succession planning. Never too early. Most families wait till it's too late. They wait till there's a farm crisis or a family emergency or a family situation. And those are not the best times to be making good, objective management decisions for that farm, that farming operation, as well as that family. Emotions take over, and many times during stressful pressure, whatever, things don't work out. And the one thing that I always share with my audience is, what if usually happens when you very least expect it. And most families avoid talking about what if. But what happens when this will never happen actually does happen? Does the family have a plan? Has the family prepared? Does everyone know if something happens today, what happens tomorrow? Who takes over the farm? How do they take over? When do they take over? If I happen to be the farming sibling who stayed back on the farm, put in a lifetime of sweat equity, I may have to buy out some of the other children to settle the estate.
Right.
Who determines the price? Who determines the terms?
Right.
How will that be done? When will that be done? And that's the key point, is everyone always thinks there's next year, next season. We'll get to it later. And then all of a sudden, something happens.
Right.
And that's the key point. If I can share that with farm families, it's never too early to begin transition planning, succession planning, to protect your farm. Particularly these farm families here in Kansas who have worked so hard to have their farms, to keep their farms, have gone through the financial struggles and that. So how do we protect that farm, protect those assets, protect that wealth, that equity the parents have accumulated, to make sure mom and dad have a safe and secure retirement, but the children that love to farm have that opportunity to continue that heritage. If you can accomplish that, that's priceless.